Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
F. You're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. Yes, it is the 30-something movie podcast. I am your host, John Reed. With me this time around, I have the one, the only, as far as I know, the only, Patrick Canigallo.
Hey. I think I'm the only one.
I think you might be. I mean, I haven't Googled that to be sure, but...
we'll make sure. Yeah, I'll just go right ahead. I'm the only one.
Okay, you're the only one. You're like the Tigger of the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like...
Are you bouncy, fun?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
I don't know. I just need to process it. What was it? Dude, we're going to do spoilers here. Can we announce we're a spoiler podcast? I'm trying to think of that movie where there was the guy that went, it was like a multiverse thing. Mm-hmm. And the guy would go around to the different multiverses and try to kill his like other version because that would make him stronger.
Kill his other version because that would make him strong.
It's
not Looper.
Well, no. It's oh shoot, what's it called?
I know. It's
dude, now I've already spoiled it. So now if I announce the title, do you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Okay, listening audience, if you don't want any movie that you could potentially see spoiled, click off. It was Jet Li, the one. Or
yes.
Maybe it wasn't Jet Li the one.
No,
it was the one.
It was the one. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
It was Jet Li.
Dude, that movie was awesome.
Yes.
You remember how that ended? He was at the top of the mountain just fighting all those guys, and that's how his thing ended. That's pretty crazy, man.
Yes. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. I got to add that to my. I have amassed a large watch list of movies that I have not had the opportunity to see yet, or movies that have just been on my watch list for quite a while. Oh, while I'm talking about the watch list, I was actually going to jump to the watch list and mention a couple of them that I put on there recently. Finally, after 3 years of knowing that this movie existed and wanting to see it, and for some reason or another not getting to see it, just a few days ago, I sat down with Nora and Sharon, and we watched The Iron Giant.
Oh, that's awesome. I still have not seen it. So
it was so good.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's, it's kind of, I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of like, well, I know that a lot of people, and I think just kind of the aesthetic of it, it's supposed to take place in the 50s. So there's kind of like and it's animated, and there's kind of like the Cold War paranoia, things like that. But and maybe it's just the aesthetic of the robot itself. I think a lot of people that like The Rocketeer also tend to like The Iron Giant.
Okay. So that's definitely right up your alley.
Yeah. So no, it was very, very good. It was very good, and I cannot believe it took me that long to watch that movie.
Mm-hmm. Cool that you finally saw it. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, speaking of the watch list, like I have a bunch of things on here. That's the only one I've been able to knock off on the watch list recently. But I had a bunch of movies that I started adding the other day because I saw somebody else's list of like movies that have crazy twists to them or like messes with your mind after having watched them.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll check some of these out. And when you mentioned the one, it made me think of, there was this one that I added to the list the other day called Predestination. Seen
Okay.
this one? It is, I think it's Ethan. Yeah, Ethan Hawke is the main actor in it.
Okay.
And I'll read the little description for you here.
Yeah,
Came out in 2014. It says, Predestination chronicles the life of a temporal agent sent on an intricate series of time travel journeys designed to prevent future killers from committing their crimes. Now on his final assignment, the agent must stop the one criminal that has eluded him throughout time and prevent a devastating attack in which thousands of lives will be lost.
Oh.
And according to the list that I found that one on, it's a movie that just kind of messes with your mind.
Interesting. And the concept is this guy's job is to it's like crime.
It sounds like it's almost like if Quantum Leap, if he was like an assassin.
Okay.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
And you take out the people before they commit the crime.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of I'm blanking out. Tom Cruise. Minority Report.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. A little bit of that, maybe a little bit of Quantum Leap. Yeah.
Okay.
The other one that sounded really good it's a Korean movie and it's called Forgotten. And the description for this one is Seoul, South Korea, 1997, when the young but extremely anxious student Jin Suk, his parents, and his successful older brother Yoo Suk moved to a new home. Mysterious and frightening events began to happen around them, unexplained events that threaten to ruin their seemingly lives. Unable to understand what is happening, Jin Suk wonders if he is losing his mind.
Okay.
So I don't know. I watched like a quick trailer of this one. I was like, all right, that's sufficiently creepy and looks like it could mess with you a little bit.
There you go. Well, it sounds like you got some fun movies on the watch list.
Well, this was on a list in which the person was like, if you enjoyed, and they listed a whole bunch of different movies, and Jacob's Ladder was one of their, starting points for the list. I was like, I do like Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. So,
well, if you want one that messes with your head, I'm saying The Platform. And I think we talked about this, but I'll put that out there. My brother-in-law recommended that, and it's that's a really fascinating movie. It's definitely a horror movie, but that's really a good movie.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking it up real quick here.
And the basic premise of it is it's a prison setting where a guy is put on a certain level and you live on that level for, I don't know. I think it's like a week or so, a month. Okay. And after, that allotted amount of time, you move to a new level, either up or down and all that. Now the levels are important because prisoners are fed once a day and basically they stop at the top level and just stock a table full of, they set a feast at this table and it drops through the levels and it spends so many minutes on each level, right, before it keeps going down. So the people on like level 1 get their choice of all this wonderful, delicious food. Mm-hmm. By the time it gets down to level, 100, there's like just scraps left. Right.
Yeah.
And there's enough food that if everybody took a little bit, there would be plenty of food for everyone, but it gets into that. So, and then it all switches. So you might be on level 1 for a month. You might be on level 2, it's really a great movie. I mean, it's
nice.
It's cool.
I remember you mentioning that one before.
Great.
I just added it to the list, but I remember you talking about that one before.
Yeah. It's,
it looks like it's on Netflix too.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Apparently in Spanish, the title of the movie is translated "The Hole."
Okay.
So I don't know if you've reached that point in The Greatest Generation, where every time they say the word "hole," they pronounce it as if it was like Swedish.
Hole.
Hole. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, very cool. Awesome, good stuff for the watch lists.
Yeah, man.
Oh. All right. Well, let's see. We've got some. Well, first of all, if you want to go visit our website, we've already said we're a spoiler podcast, so we can skip that part. If you want to visit our website, 30podcast.com, you can leave us a rating, leave us a voicemail, become a co-executive producer via Patreon. And I'm gonna give a quick little shout out to the Patreon patrons. Thank you all so much, as always, for your continued support. for helping us out with keeping the show going, trying to constantly improve things for you all, whether that's, helping to improve the website that we have, or some of the different, services that we're trying to put out, or bonus episodes, things like that. Some of the equipment we've got, just kind of up the game a little bit so we make it a better experience for all of you. So yeah, thank you. Just thank you so much for always coming alongside us with that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And to that, the reason I kind of bring that up is I have been starting to work on putting some stuff up on like an online store, like getting some.
Okay.
I've been working on maybe designing some T-shirts, designing some other stuff that could be printed on different items, and so I'm hoping to kind of get that going fairly soon. And I was also, another way, if you're going to do any kind of Amazon shopping or anything like that, another way to kind of help support the show and open up some opportunities for us to be able to do some extra stuff for you all. I may also start to put up some links on our website for Amazon. So if you are going to do some shopping on Amazon, if you go and kind of click through those links, they're not up yet on the website, but I'm hoping to get that up within the next few weeks or so. And even like creating a little store through Amazon. So like if we are talking about a particular movie, I can put up some different items or the actual DVD or Blu-ray copy of the movie itself in that store, and you can just go straight over there and pick it up, or pick up some related items, and then a tiny portion of what you buy through there then would go back to helping support the show. So that's a couple different things that I'm working on that I think might be kind of cool. But I'm kind of excited for the T-shirt ideas. I'm not going to share the design thoughts that I have. I already told you about one of them.
Yes.
But I'm working on some different designs that I think will be kind of fun.
That's awesome, man. And look at us, like, providing a link, to the online world. That's pretty cool.
Providing a link. Remember you said that when we get to next week's episode.
Darn tootin'.
Providing a link.
There it is, man.
Next week is Encino Man, just in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. At this point, well, this is the first episode of, I can't even believe we're in June. Like, it seems crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like we just got to 1992 and now we're already halfway through the year.
It's definitely flying.
Yeah. So, as we always do, our first episode of each month, we jump in the DeLorean, we head back to this month in 92. So let's jump in the DeLorean and we'll head back to June of 1992.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious.
Back in time.
Get back.
I was singing along, man. That's such a great tune.
That's fine. Get back, Marty. Yeah. All right. So I've got some top news, and some of this is going to be, this is like straight out of our childhoods.
Yes.
Top news for June of 1992. I don't think you could be an American child that lived through June of 1992 and not know this story. Are you ready for this?
I am ready for this.
Pat, I have a question for you, and this goes all the way back to June 15th, 1992. Pat, when you came on the podcast tonight, I bet you didn't realize there was going to be a spelling contest. Pat, your word is potato. How do you spell potato, Pat?
Okay, I'm going to spell potato, but you know what? Like, all the air just got sucked out of the room because I think I might be missing the reference.
I bet you'll remember the reference when we get there.
Are you sure, John? I feel like I'm letting everybody down.
No, you'll remember it.
Okay.
How do you spell potato?
P-O-T-A-T-O.
Yes, that is how you spell potato. Do you recall how Dan Quayle spelled potato when he visited a Trenton, New Jersey elementary school?
Oh, no, but I remember when this happened. But I can't, what did he say? Did he spell it with an E?
He spelled it with an E on the end because he had a card that somebody had created for him, and the person, so that he didn't have to just rely on memory because he knew he was going to be on camera, they spelled it wrong on the card.
Oh no!
So he was just going off of what was written on the card, even though he knew how to spell the word potato. He was reading off the card, and so he spelled it with an E. And even as a kid in 1992, I remember the vice president getting picked on for not being able to spell potato.
Yeah, I remember that stuff too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that, I mean, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of teasing of him.
Yeah, there was.
But I mean, there were some gaffes there.
Oh, there's always,
what I'm saying?
There's always some gaffes. Like every president and vice president always has some pretty good moments.
And I mean, in all fairness to just about everybody, like, I mean, have your entire life like that much on whatever side of the political spectrum, whoever you voted for, there's always, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's, oh my gosh, I remember that. Potatoe.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, got that reference. Good.
I understood that reference. All right, June 16th. Patrick, on June 16th of 1992, the longest salami, which weighed 1,492 pounds, was created in Flekkefjord, Norway.
The longest salami.
It was 68 feet and 9 inches.
Wow.
With a 25-inch circumference and weighed 1,500 pounds.
That's a heck of a Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie. So, June 22nd, 2 skeletons excavated in Yekaterinburg, Russia, are identified as Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra.
Oh, yes. Was Tsar Nicholas II, was he the one that Rasputin was the guy that kind of was messing with the whole thing?
Yes.
Or am I? Okay.
Yeah. June 24th, mafia boss John Gotti begins his life sentence in jail for murder and other crimes.
I remember that trial.
Yeah.
I remember that all. Yeah.
This one will be important for next week's movie. June 28th, the Constitution of Estonia is signed into law.
There you go. Oh.
There you go. Wheezing the juice, buddy. Because that's not going to get old when we do that for next week.
Not at all, man.
Not at
Didn't
all.
get old watching the movie.
No, yeah. I'm just going to say, even though sometimes he can occasionally get on my nerves, he's no Bobcat Goldthwait.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, if Bobcat Goldthwait talked that way, I'd be done.
That would just kind of tap it out.
Yeah. I don't even know what that would sound like.
Buddy?
Yeah, I don't know. People who died. June 2nd, Philip Dunn, the founder of the Screenwriters Guild, died of cancer at age 84. June 2nd of 92. And then June 11th of 92, Marjorie Newell Robb, the oldest living survivor of the Titanic, died at age 103.
Oh, wow.
So she stuck around for a while. Apparently there was a door big enough for her.
I'm just telling you, man, sometimes you got to do what you always do. Turn death into a fighting chance to live.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They had someone like that. I want to say there was this person that survived the Titanic, the Lusitania, and was maybe the Andrea Doria too.
Okay.
No, I don't know if the Andrea, but there were 3. This individual survived 3 major sinkings. I mean, to the point that I think the Titanic, they were like super young.
God,
I mean, like
at that point, take the train.
I was gonna say, I know. I'm
hearing Christopher. I'm hearing Christopher Reeve in my head go. Statistically speaking, flying is the safest way to travel.
Is the safest way. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to look that up after the show tonight, after the recording tonight. But yeah, there was an individual I remember reading about. Well, yeah, just any of that. But could you imagine being involved in like, the 3 major maritime disasters?
Mm-hmm.
Craziness.
I think that's God telling you you're meant to be a landlubber.
Yeah.
Top sports, June 14th, NBA Finals. The Chicago Bulls beat the Portland Trail Blazers 97-93 in Game 6 for back-to-back titles. Michael Jordan is the MVP for the second straight year.
Oh, yeah, and it all begins.
Mm-hmm.
It all begins.
And then you end up with the three-peat, and then you repeat the three-peat, and then it all falls off the rails. But
it's
got a couple of three-peats.
It's hard to maintain that stuff.
And then June 24th, NBA draft. LSU center Shaquille O'Neal is the first pick by the Orlando Magic.
Wow.
When he was just a baby. Like a 7'1" baby, but he was just a baby.
Yeah, gosh, that was wow. All right, man. Fun little trivia.
Top books were Jewels by Danielle Steele and Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
Top movies were Patriot Games and Batman Returns.
Good choices all the way around.
And top songs were Jump by Criss Cross and I'll Be There by Mariah Carey.
Okay.
So we've been kind of reshuffling or restructuring how we do some of the like information here at the beginning of our episodes. So I'm gonna kind of throw in a little bit of trivia here towards the beginning of the episode while we do the title, release date, rating, all that other information.
Sure.
I don't have a sound drop for this one just yet. But going forward, I'm titling this section Trivia Pursuits.
Trivia Pursuits. Get the wedgie.
Yes. Which, by the way, I think we might have been challenged by another podcast to have a Star Wars trivia contest.
Oh, well, dude.
Docking Bay 77 podcast. On Twitter, they had listened to the episode, and then on Twitter, somebody had said, just heard about how good John is at Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. Maybe we should have a podcast battle sometime. So I'm like, all right, let's set it up.
Okay, guys. So, I mean, if you want to go up against John in Star Wars trivia, I'm kind of worried though. Like I'm a little rusty. Nobody will play Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with me, so I haven't played it. I haven't actually done the trivia stuff in Star Wars for quite a while. So I am a little nervous. I'm probably a little rusty on it, but I'm always up for a good challenge. Well, and I mean, I would like to attend and help represent, but I kind of feel like that episode of Happy Days when Fonzie had the rumble and Chachi was like, Fonzie's going to let me rumble with him. And then he ended up just showing up and holding Fonzie's scarf. Uh-huh. And I feel like that might be like what happens if you know what I'm saying? Like do a Star Wars trivia with you. I'm going to probably have to hold your scarf. This was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. It was before the pandemic. My wife was just texting me to remind me about the story I'm just about to tell you. Nice. 3 or 4 years ago. Friend of mine, we're good friends with their family, and he and I, there was this bar in one of the nearby towns in Grays Lake, and they were doing a Star Wars trivia night, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I couldn't get any of my other like normal trivia people to necessarily go with me, but I also knew that he lived right there in that town, so I called him up and I was like, hey, do you want to go to this bar and they're doing Star Wars trivia? And he's like, yeah, I mean, my kids like Star Wars and I like it. I don't know how good I'm going to be at trivia. And I said, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll just go and we'll have fun. We'll get some food. We'll have fun and we'll see how it goes. I get there and the place is packed. And standing room only, this place is packed. And we're able to get a couple of seats. Some people were nice enough to share their table with us. And so there are a lot of people there that are in like teams of 8 people, 10 people, and everybody's like wearing their Star Wars shirts. And I walk in and I go, oh dear. All right, well, at least the food will be good. But I feel like I'm like going to be overwhelmed by the Star Wars nerds that are also in this room with me. And I will jump to the short version of the story. He really couldn't answer any of the questions because he was like, yeah, I really don't know. You're just going to have to answer all these questions. And out of all of the people that were in that bar, I single-handedly won the Star Wars trivia. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I know, like, modestly, I'm like, I know I'm a little rusty because I haven't done anything like that for a few years, but I have so much useless knowledge in my noggin. Yeah. So I'm always up for some good Star Wars trivia. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And it's not useless information, man. It's absolutely very useful information.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not going to help you get a car loan or anything like that, but.
Well, yeah,
I could.
Maybe more to life than a car loan.
Maybe if the guy at the bank is a really big Star Wars fan, he'll, knock off some of the interest rate, or I don't know.
You walk into those things and you say, I have a very particular set of skills that makes me.
You will give me a lower monthly payment.
Yes.
We'll have to see how that works. All right. So Trivia Pursuits movie this time around is called The Distinguished Gentleman. Came out on the 4th of December, 1992, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 52 minutes. Directed by Jonathan Lynn, who also did Clue and My Cousin Vinny. Quick, interesting little thing about Lynn was he started his career at age 21 on Broadway in a show in which he acted alongside John Cleese and Graham Chapman from Monty Python.
Oh.
So talk about a first job. My first job was at Sears in the stockroom. Jonathan Lynn's first job was on Broadway with John Cleese and Graham Chapman.
That was not my experience.
That's why I'm not directing Eddie Murphy movies. I mean, there's a number of reasons I'm not directing Eddie Murphy movies, but writers for this one were Marty Kaplan, who did the story and screenplay, and Jonathan Reynolds, who did the story. Reynolds passed away last year in 2021. Kaplan also did Noises Off, which we just did a couple of weeks ago, and a movie called Striking Distance. Reynolds did My Stepmother is an Alien and the perennial Bill Cosby favorite, Leonard Part 6.
Yes.
We start with the Part 6 because we didn't have the Jell-O pudding for the Part 1 through 5, you see.
Oh, jeez.
Theo. Where's Rudy? So ashamedly, I will say I did enjoy Leonard Part 6 when I was a kid.
All right. I still have yet to see.
And you're probably okay.
Okay.
I mean, if you really want to see it, it's stupid and it might be fun. I kind of put it's the same, roughly the same time period and the same kind of flavor as like a, what can I equate it with? Maybe like a Suburban Commando and a No Holds Barred and.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of put it on the same level as like a Hulk Hogan movie.
Got it. All right. Well, yeah.
It might be even stupider than that, but yeah. But it doesn't enrage me like Cool World.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I'd say give it a try. I mean, but I don't want you to waste like an hour and a half of your life, but if you're bored and you have nothing else to do and you've already stuck an ice pick in your earlobe, then you could watch Leonard Part 6.
There you go.
I'm just trying to give you options.
There you go. It's good to have options.
Yeah. Producers on this one were Leonard Goldberg, who passed away in 2019, and Michael Pazer. Goldberg did War Games and Double Jeopardy. Pazer did Ruthless People and Hackers. Double Jeopardy was the movie that taught everyone that if you already killed someone, you can kill them again and you won't get in trouble for it.
Right. I
never even saw the movie, but that's what I learned from it.
Right.
I think that's how that works. I don't understand the law.
Yeah.
It was my understanding there would be no law during the podcast. Music was done by Randy Edelman, who did Twins, Ghostbusters 2, and Kindergarten Cop. It's quite a collection there. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Cinematography was done by Gabriel Beristain, who also did cinematography for Blade 2, The Strain, and Agent Carter. And if you're a believer in the Mandela effect in the other universe, that's Gabriel Berenstein.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Mandela effect, eventually we're going to talk about the movie.
Right. What movie are we doing?
We're Distinguished Gentlemen.
Yeah, of course.
Speaking of the Mandela effect, you know what I learned the other day? That there is another, because you remember what that is, right?
The Mandela effect. You might have to refresh my memory.
So the Mandela effect is the belief that there are alternate universes and that we occasionally have people that are crossing over between universes. And so there are a swath of people that believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison. Like, they're absolutely convinced that he died in prison. And there's a whole other group of people that are like, no, he got out of prison. And and led South Africa. And it's the same group of people that believe, because when you look at the one example that is always put up there is the Berenstain Bears.
Yes.
And people are like, whoa. The book says Berenstain Bears. When I was a kid, it said Berenstein Bears, and that's what we always called it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so some people believe that there are other examples that there are alternate realities, and that sometimes we cross over into the alternate realities. The one I learned about, was it yesterday? Might have been yesterday. When you think back to the Publishers Clearinghouse commercials that came on TV when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Who handed out the big checks?
It was Ed McMahon, right?
Thank you. Okay. Apparently, and this is according to the internet and according to all kinds of different articles here, Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, he never worked for the company. He was never, handing out the big checks to people. And I have no idea. Like, this thing here, it's I'm actually on Snopes.com.
Okay.
And it says, some readers might fondly remember Publishers Clearinghouse television commercials from past decades where sweepstakes winners were notified at their doorsteps by the Publishers Clearinghouse Prize Patrol that they had won large cash prizes, sometimes with a big check. However, Ed McMahon never appeared in the ads.
Huh.
I am completely convinced that he was in the Publishers Clearinghouse ones.
Yeah. So we're the alternate reality.
So maybe we're in the alternate reality. So apparently he did appear in other commercials for something called American Family Publishers, which is kind of similar to Publishers Clearinghouse.
Okay.
But he never actually did any of the delivering of the big checks to people. So my guess is what really happened is that people saw the American Family Publisher commercials and did not remember that name, but remembered Publishers Clearinghouse.
Right.
And so they just kind of mixed the two together.
And then in popular media, like, all it takes is a comedian to do a bit about, I'm going to get an award from Ed McMahon. I mean, that's all it takes. And then suddenly,
right.
So
anyway, that's your Mandela effect for the day. Because I too was completely convinced that he was the representative for Publishers Clearinghouse and delivered those big checks.
This is, that's like a thing like Danny Glover gets Roger Murtaugh. I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah.
That he never says that line, right? Isn't that kind of the thing? Like, he never says, I'm getting too old for this.
Right.
Stuff. It's always like, I'm too old for this, or I'm too old for that. And it never gets but the quote is always attributed to him.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a thing like that, right?
Yeah. It's like that. And, how people always think it's Luke, I am your father.
Right.
It's not. It's no, I am your father.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, I am your father. That kind of deal.
No. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was trying to explain to Dominic the import of that line the other day, because for him, rewatching the movies, and then for Daniela first time and all that, I'm like, Dominic, you got to understand, like, that was the original cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. Like, that was said, and there was the collective suck of air sucking out of the room, like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. And then the movie ends and the hero is not saved. And, I'm like, now we have 18 other movies and 16 other television shows and 4,800 novels.
But at that time, it was like Maury coming on and saying, you are the father.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But we didn't know if it was true or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Editor for this movie were Barry B. Lehrer and Tony Lombardo. Lehrer did Lockup and one of my dad's favorite TV shows, Nash Bridges. Lombardo did Uncle Buck and My Cousin Vinny. But budget for this one was $50 million. Box office was $86 million. Flickmetrics gives it a 50% for this distinguished gentleman, and CinemaScore gives it a B+. Eddie Murphy played Thomas Jefferson Johnson. He was in Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America. Lane Smith, who died in 2005, was Dick Dodge. He was in My Cousin Vinny and Lois and Clark. Cheryl Lee Ralph was Miss Loretta. She was in Oliver and Company and Sister Act 2. Joe Don Baker was Olaf Anderson. He was in Goldeneye and Mars Attacks. Victoria Rowell was Celia Kirby. She was in Dumb and Dumber and the TV series Diagnosis Murder. Grant Schaud played Arthur Reinhardt. He was in Wall Street and the TV show Murphy Brown. Kevin McCarthy, who died in 2010, played Terry Corrigan. He was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 50s version, and I believe the 70s version, and the movie Inner Space. Charles S. Dutton played Elijah Hawkins. He was in Alien 3, which we're going to talk about a little bit later this year, and A Time to Kill. Vic also played a religious man in Alien 3, so did a lot of... he was very much a preacher in 1992.
Yeah.
Victor Rivers played Armando. He was in The Mask of Zorro and The Air I Breathe. Shai McBride played Homer. He was in Gone in 60 Seconds and the TV series Human Target. Noble Willingham died in 2004, played Zeke Bridges. He was in City Slickers and The Howling. Gary Frank played Iowa. He was in Remington Steele and Deep Space Nine. Cynthia Harris, who died in 2021, played Vera Johnson. She was in the TV series Mad About You and L.A. Law. Daniel Benzali played Skeeter Warburton. He was in A View to a Kill and Murder at 1600. James Garner, who died in 2014, played Jeff Johnson, the name you know. He was in The Notebook and The Great Escape. All right, so a couple things trivia-wise that I wanted to bring up real quick. The movie's screenplay was written by Marty Kaplan, who was a past screenwriter for Democratic presidential candidate Walter Mondale in 1984.
Okay.
This was Eddie Murphy had a couple of kids that were born right before this movie, one in 1989 and one in 1990, and this kind of marked like the very late 80s on into the early 90s. In fact, all the way up until like 96 or 97 was when Eddie Murphy had just been so hot in box office in the 80s, and this was kind of his big slump. Was this time period from like 89, 88, 89 to about 97 or 98. He had about a decade where just things did not go well. And then after that decade, he kind of came back with the kind of the family-friendly movies. He started coming back as like the donkey from Shrek, and the Dr. Dolittle movies and stuff like that. So now the other thing not related to this movie at all that I thought you would be interested in, and I'll ask because maybe you did this on Sunday. This will give people an idea of when we're recording this too. So yesterday was Sunday, May 22nd. Patrick, did you happen to take part in the annual Distinguished Gentleman's Motorcycle Ride?
I did not, John.
You did not.
I did not.
Okay. I was kind of hoping maybe
sorry.
you had. Okay. Do you know what the Gentleman's Ride is?
I do not, John. I don't.
Okay, so apparently what you do, and I don't know, one of the articles I saw that there were a bunch of places that were doing it for the very first time, but this is for it's kind of the charity is for men's health, and it is supported by, or it's supporting the charity known as Movember. And the idea is that you have people and you get all dressed up real nice in like a suit. They've got a lot of pictures of guys in jackets and bow ties and things like that. And they are riding classic and vintage style motorcycles.
Oh, wow.
And it like happens across the world. Like in Edinburgh, Scotland, it was like the 11th annual Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. In Fayetteville, Arkansas, it was the first annual Gentleman's Ride. But apparently on Sunday, May 22nd, this was a worldwide event that took place. They've been doing it. I guess actually this was the 11th time because it says they had been raising money since 2012.
Okay.
And had about 92,000 riders from across the world.
Oh, wow. And they just thought, well, I didn't see the ride go by.
They get dressed up all fancy and they ride their motorcycles.
That's pretty cool. And they ride vintage bikes. Wow.
Yeah.
I need to get a vintage bike, Sean.
You need to get a vintage bike. Do you want me to call Tammy?
Tammy knows.
Do you want me to tell her that it's for charity? It's for men's health.
That every little bit will help.
All right. Every
little bit will help.
I will make a PowerPoint.
That, John.
And I will share that.
That will be. I will make a PowerPoint.
Okay.
The PowerPoint will be shared.
Yes. Okay. All right. I will do what I can. That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
I will do whatever I can to get you a vintage motorcycle.
A guy can dream, John. A guy can dream.
Uh-huh. So anyway, that is the Distinguished Gentleman's Motorcycle Ride. Has nothing to do with the movie, but it had the same name. So
there it is.
We could throw that in there for the folks. All right. I'm going to mark down what time it is, because it is like 40-ish minutes into the episode, and all of a sudden, I cannot get any of the pages on my Safari window to load.
Oh.
So let's try.
Well, that's frustrating.
You know, it's a little, when all your notes are on Google Docs, it's a challenge. So let's see what we got going on here. That's not cooperating. Okay, let's look here. Let's try this again. And we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Here's the news. All right. Let's get to where we were. And there we go. Okay. All right, so a con man discovers during a job that U.S. Congress is the place to be, and that's where the money is, and that his name recognition, because he has a name that is very similar to an existing congressman, the name you know, Jeff Johnson, is going to get him elected. The question is, will he develop a conscience once he gets to Washington, D.C.? I feel like that's a contradiction, but let's find out.
Oh, waiter, where's my bourbon sour?
Oh, you must think I'm Kareem. I'm Jamal. He stiff you in your drinks, too? He fired. Kareem, where's this woman's drink?
Thomas Jefferson Johnson is no ordinary con man.
Take the damn money. Take the watch, please.
You know this goes against my every principle.
There is only one place for people like him.
I want to tell y'all about a town where the streets are paved with gold.
You mean Las Vegas?
No, not Las Vegas.
He's talking about Washington, D.C.
I am running for Congress.
Now, Thomas Johnson Con Man is Thomas Johnson Congressman.
Read my lips!
We have a new member joining us today, the distinguished gentleman from Florida.
Paul Dickhauser, American Tobacco Council.
Paul, I'm going to be extremely frank with you. That is, if you're interested in fundraising.
Well, I'm very flattered, Mr. Chairman.
Dick.
Well, I'm very flattered, Mr. Dick.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chairman Dick.
No, Dick, just Dick.
Oh, just Dick, just plain old Dick.
We feel that the semi-automatic weapons gotten a bad rap. Really, they're just guns for the ordinary sportsman.
And then like a nice warm Uzi. Must have had a heart attack.
Hollywood Pictures presents Eddie Murphy.
And I think it is wrong when students have to stay up late at night and miss all the good shows, doing homework, then get up early in the morning and go to school. This sort of thing just is not fair.
He's going to do to Congress what Congress has been doing to you.
I got a sprinkler too now. Back at you. All right then.
The distinguished gentleman.
Aren't you going to vote?
Is that what that means? You know, all this time I thought that meant it was time for Final Jeopardy or something.
Well, so for this one, we've got some major moments to talk about here in this movie. I got about 5 major moments for us to kind of go through, so we'll go ahead and get started with those. First off, we meet Thomas Jefferson Johnson, a con artist, and we've got that first scene where he's at the house and he's pretending to be a waiter, but he's got the rest of his team there, and we've got was it Miss Loretta shows up, and they're trying to shake down the one the guy who owns the house there, and what was it? It was not Women of the World. What was it? What was the name of the phone?
Yeah, the adult phone line.
Yeah.
It was something of the world.
Yeah.
I think it was something, a take on women of the world.
Yeah.
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 Oh, man.
But yeah, so we have that whole first scene of, him trying to shake him down. He's got his whole crew there, and, you got the one guy comes in pretending to be the jealous boyfriend, and, he's pretending then to be the undercover FBI agent, and he's like, well, you shouldn't pay people off like that. And, well, how much would it normally take? It's, well, it's, $2,000. Oh, yeah, no problem. Well, there are 4 of them.
No problem.
No problem. Did I also happen to mention that? Yeah. And he just kind of keeps just more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's at the party where he kind of overhears some conversations about the kind of donations and fundraisers that the politicians, the money that they're able to pull down from those. And he's kind of like, I'm in the wrong line of business.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that kind of jumps off. That's the beginning point of the whole movie is he decides, look, I'm, $12,000 here, $12,000 there. That's chump change compared to what I could be getting if I was in Washington. And he realizes that, wait a minute, my name is real close to that other guy's name.
Right.
And it just so happens that Congressman Jeff Johnson has a, shall we say, mishap?
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a mishap. And he dies. He's dead, Mr. Coach Klein. And so then he has the opportunity. Eddie Murphy's character then has the opportunity. Thomas Jefferson Johnson has the opportunity to shorten his name to Jeff Johnson and get on the ballot through name recognition. And so that's the next major moment is he realizes that he can take the name and as long as he gets the backing of a major donor group, then he's good. So he goes and enlists the helps of the Silver Foxes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a great name for was that the name of their political party?
I think it was just like their political.
Is it their PAC?
Yeah, because I think they were all elderly folks.
Yeah. Putting somebody on the Silver Fox ticket. So the quick version of the next few things, it kind of runs in quick succession here. So he does get elected based on the name recognition. So major moment 3 is Thomas Jefferson Johnson is in Washington, D.C. now. And you've got a lot of funny moments during this part where, he has no clue what it takes to really be a congressman, what it means to be in Washington, D.C. You had that funny bit in the trailer that we heard where the bell goes off. And they're like, aren't you going to go in and vote? It's like, I thought that meant it was time for Final Jeopardy. The scene where he's got the group of school kids there and they're asking him to explain the vote that he just cast. And he's like, oh, yeah, I voted no. I voted no. My conscience, I had to vote no. And then somebody else shows up and goes, yeah, can you explain to the kids what we just voted on? Because he had no clue what he just voted on.
Right.
And, it was the Better Schools and Clean Air project. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because I think that kids deserve more than just clean air. And of course,
right. We have to make difficult decisions.
Mm-hmm. And ever the consummate con man comes up with a way to get out of it.
Right. Just keep talking.
Just keep talking. Give a good speech.
Mm-hmm.
This was and we're still kind of working through the plot here, but one of the things I want to mention about this movie, and then we'll give kind of more of our opinions here in just a minute, but one of the things about this movie is this is one of those movies where even if maybe the story itself or the execution itself was not as strong as it could have been, it's one of those movies where it was definitely a vehicle for Eddie Murphy to do his Eddie Murphy stuff.
Yes, agreed.
We talk pretty regularly about, well, this movie was clearly a way for Robin Williams to be Robin Williams and to practice some of his Robin Williams stuff. And this one was definitely for Eddie Murphy to practice some of his stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you have the moment, like I always remember Eddie Murphy, doing like the Jesse Jackson voices.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he does that when he calls, who does he pretend to be? He pretends to be, I was going to pull it up here so I made sure I got it. He pretends to be Mr. Joshua Benjamin from the NAACP.
Right.
Yeah. And he calls Chairman Dodge's office and he's like, Chairman Dodge, please, would you tell him that it's Mr. Joshua Benjamin from the NAACP?
Yeah.
Would you be a great deal of help? I have a few minor questions. I would like to know how many members of the chairman's committee are African American. None? Well, surely there must be a Latino member on the committee. No Latinos either. Does the chairman have any Asians or Native Americans on the committee? And he just goes through his whole thing of
Right. It's so good.
Yeah.
All his voices were really on display in this one, I thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we get to kind of the turning point in the movie. Thomas Jefferson Johnson gets a bit of a conscience. He meets a young, I think she's a lawyer, kind of a lobbyist, and does not realize that she is related to one of the other congressmen he had met earlier, that she is related to Reverend Elijah Hawkins, who is also a congressman. That's the one that's played by Charles S. Dutton. And so he kind of starts to fall in love with her a little bit. And between her prodding that, people in Congress should actually do something with the position they've been given, not just raise money and keep the money for themselves. He kind of starts to fall for her a little bit. We have that moment where the mother and child, come bursting into his office and demand to see him right away. And he finds out about the idea of the cancer clusters, with people living near the power lines, things like that. So that's the moment I'm calling Thomas Jefferson Johnson gets a conscience. And that's kind of the turning point of the movie where he realizes, I came here to just grift as much money as I possibly could off of these people. And now I'm starting to realize that the position that I'm in, I actually should and I could and should be doing something good with it.
Mm-hmm. Nope. I agree.
And then the final major moment of the movie, I think this says it all. I'm calling this major moment, Thomas Jefferson Johnson exposes dick.
Yes, as can happen in these movies.
Yes, and shares with the entire, the industry and power committee that they're on, just exposes everything that he's been doing, hides that video camera so that they record the conversation that was taking place in his office, and just basically lays the whole thing out in front of everybody and gets him arrested in front of everybody.
Right.
And it was kind of a what am I equating it to? I'm kind of equating it to like a Scent of a Woman final courtroom scene.
Yeah.
You have the whole audience there that needs to be there, and everybody's cheering, and it's all triumphant and all that, and then you have the kind of the funny line there at the end of the movie, and he's like, well, now that I'm not really gonna be a congressman anymore necessarily, and now that people know my face, so I can't really be a con man, there's only one thing left for me to do. I'm gonna run for president. And then that's end of the movie. Did I miss any major let's try speaking in English. Did I miss any major moments before we go into our deep thoughts?
I don't believe you missed any major moo-moos.
Major moo-moos? Okay.
As long as I didn't miss major moo-moos.
Major I hear the MoMA. The MoMA is a very good museum in New York City. I sing Manamana at the MoMA. And I wonder if they have Monet would be a little too old for the MoMA. That's more. The MoMA's for modern. So. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're freewheeling, John. We're freewheeling.
We are. They might not have Monet, but I bet they've got a Dada. Do you think they have a Dada at the MoMA?
One, of course.
Yeah. That's also a little bit of many of my deep cut Mad About You fans out there will also know that that's a bit that they do in Mad About You where they start talking about the MoMA, and he's like, yeah, do they have a Dada at the MoMA? I bet they do. All right. Yes. Well, if I get tongue tied again, next time I'll just switch directly into Swedish Chef mode, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for Deep Thoughts.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
Patrick?
John?
I would like to know your deepest thoughts about this movie. Do you like this movie?
Yes. Okay. I enjoyed it. For the thing that you mentioned at the top. It very basic level. It's Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. There was nothing in this movie that I could say it really stood out to me.
No.
Like, there's nothing fantastic about this movie, but I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it. It's one of those movies that, like, if I was sitting around, not that this ever happens anymore because I don't have cable, but if I was sitting around watching TV, just flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden this movie came on, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll watch this for a little bit. It's kind of one of those.
Yeah.
It's like, it's never going to go on any like top movie list for me. It's not necessarily one I'm going to seek out again, but at the same time, if it was on, yeah, I'll watch it. It's kind of, there was a thought, I kind of had formulated my thought earlier on when I had finished watching it a couple of days ago. And it was, this movie is a very safe, very vanilla Eddie Murphy movie.
Yeah.
Like it's not 80s Eddie Murphy where he might shock you with some of the stuff that he says or does. It's kind of, just as his character gets a bit of a conscience as the movie goes on, I feel like this is kind of the turning point, and maybe that's why some of his box office stuff started to drop during this time period. I feel like he went from being the, very extreme, hilarious, but sometimes very offensive Eddie Murphy from the 80s to, and maybe it's because he had kids. He just had a couple of kids before making this movie, and so maybe something in him was starting to kind of mellow out a little bit and be like, wow, I'm a dad now. Maybe I need to switch up what I do and what I say. And I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him. And I know that there's still plenty of movies that came out around this time and after this time where he was, still same sense of humor. But part of me feels like this is a very middle of the road, kind of safe movie for him.
Yeah, I agree. It was in that, definitely it wasn't as, over the top as like some of the movies. Even with like, well, there was some language in there. If you compare it to like his stand-up, like Raw and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely a different thing. I just found it like it was just kind of, okay, there was the good guys, there was the bad guys. The good guys won in the end. It was just a light, fun story, a chance for him to show off the characters and the mannerisms that we love so much about Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It was, in many ways, it was almost like watching Axel Foley.
Yeah.
With the laugh and the way he could drop into the different voices and it, the way he would be involved. Yeah, exactly. And he would be in a certain situation, then suddenly, he would turn it on its ear and he would come out on top. Like he was always, he always had a way out of things. Like you said, the con man able to talk himself out of problematic situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was whether by design or just kind of the way things happen, it was a lighter movie.
Yeah.
So
we had a few folks on Twitter. I tweeted out that these are the couple of movies we're going to be recording our episodes on tonight are The Distinguished Gentleman and Encino Man. And so we had a couple of responses on here. Docking Bay 77 podcast said, I like that they liked Distinguished Gentleman.
Right.
Joshua Sieben is at Dark Aguirre on Twitter, said Distinguished Gentleman shows how interesting and important a name is. And let's see, that was the rest of them are for Encino Man, but so it's kind of an unassuming movie. Like it doesn't necessarily challenge anything. It's not extreme in any way. It's got it's got a decent message to it.
Yeah. Good guy, bad guy, the lovable miscreant kind of becomes the hero kind of thing.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of that outsider comes in and shakes up Washington kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
You see that similar thing in the movie. I mean, completely different movie, but it's the same kind of thing with the movie Dave that came out within a couple of years of this. I want to say is someone goes into Washington and changes things up.
Yeah.
Which I think a couple things. I think was something that, well, how do I say this safely on the podcast? I think there's a definitely kind of a romantic idea of that, that Washington is broken and, you need an outsider to go in and just kind of some common sense or some, he's the con man, but he's going to see the way through it, bringing his con man skills to it. He'll beat the bad guys and win the day. And like I said, I'm not knocking the movie. I mean, it's just that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Good guys, bad guys, light, fun ending, and the rest. And that's what you get, and it's enjoyable.
Hey, if you want to, you can totally go off on a political thing if you want to, because this is the movie we're talking about this time. This could be the 30-something political podcast.
Nope.
No?
Sorry.
You don't want to?
Not gonna do it.
No?
Not gonna do it.
Even though, you know what I read earlier today? And I was
only imagine.
I was a little sad. I was a little sad we're not on it, Pat.
Yeah.
Did you see that Russia released their list of the 963 Americans that are permanently banned from Russia?
Oh, are we not on that list?
We're not on there.
Well, we have goals, John. Now we have goals.
We broke. Earlier today I saw. Well, and that thing fluctuates so much. Earlier today I saw we broke into the top 100 of film history podcasts on iTunes.
Really?
Yeah. So, but I'm like, apparently that doesn't rate enough for us to get banned from Russia for life.
Well,
you want to know? You want to know who else was banned?
Who else was banned?
Director Rob Reiner was banned.
Okay.
I don't know why. Morgan Freeman was banned.
Oh.
So the penguins in Russia are going to have to find somebody else to narrate their life.
I guess.
My friend Andy Dufresne.
Could
not go to Moscow.
Yeah. I don't want to talk politics.
No? Okay.
But I will say that, I think one of the things that I find humorous in this movie is that,
do you find politics humorous?
Oh my gosh, beyond.
Okay.
If I wasn't crying or if I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying.
Uh-huh.
No, but I think what you see in this movie is, Eddie Murphy doing like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
To a T. I mean, he is just, right in his strong point. What would it be? The antagonists in this movie, all the bad guys, each one of those guys could be like in a movie as the main bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Each one of those guys. I think one was earlier in My Cousin Vinny. It was the lawyer. Yep. I think one of those guys a number of years ago was the main newsman in UHF, the bad guy.
Yep.
I know that is it Joe Don Baker?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He plays he hasn't always the bad guy. He's been in some 007 movies. He's been the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think he was the bad guy in a 007 movie as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. Bottom line is any one of those guys could be that guy. And they put them all in this movie. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
Like, we need a character actor for this type of character, but then as opposed to taking one of the 5 that showed up, they take all 5.
Yeah.
And so that was really, that assemblage of talent was pretty impressive, and getting James Garner in there, of course, is just fantastic.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell who they were trying to make fun of.
Oh yeah.
You could definitely see you could definitely see which side of the aisle and which beliefs and which part of the country and all of that kind of stuff that they were poking fun at or using as a foil. And I'm going to say, like, I would be interested seeing this movie released today just because politics has changed so much in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, like so much of it has changed, so much stays the same. It's like going back and watching The West Wing. You know, you go back and you watch The West Wing and you're less like, oh my gosh, this show's written so well. But it was just written in a different political climate.
Yeah.
Right. And so I wonder how something like this would play today.
Yeah.
I
don't think it would.
I'll leave,
I don't think,
I'm
I don't
leave
think
it
it would.
at that. Dot.
I don't think it would play today. I don't think it would play today.
Okay.
I think a lot of the political stuff has just become so polarizing that I'm not sure. Because I mean, you had a series of kind of political movies that came out in the early to mid 90s, and I feel like people are so much demonizing the other side, and it's so polarizing that I don't know that people could go and enjoy a political movie, even if it's a political comedy. I'm not sure.
Right, and I'll tell you, I think, and I want to say this. I mean, there's been enough strife and there's been enough division. Yeah. And I love a good fight as much as the next guy, sometimes even more. But I mean, in the same token, like I don't want to add more division, but I also think, I think there's also a belief that, well, Hollywood and movies, Hollywood always takes one side, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then kind of makes fun of the other side. And so I think looking at this in today's day and age, I think that would be difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just a different time. And so the humor fell differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in that sense, I found it very interesting watching the movie, because just for that exact thing, thinking back 30 years ago and, that's what politics was like back then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm trying to keep it like objective and just, not saying my own opinions one way or the other or, and all that. But yeah, that's one that when we look back and how does the movie age? And I all the things, I think if you look at the movie of itself, I think Eddie Murphy is awesome. I think he's just a funny, talented individual. And I like I said, I love the protagonist. Am I using that right? Is it the antagonist or protagonist? Who are the bad guys in the movie?
Antagonists. Yeah.
I think they just stack the deck with the antagonists.
Yeah.
And with talent. And it was great, but I just obviously, like it was made in its time, and so it's gonna have different beats now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about the distinguished gentleman before we jump into our 3 questions?
I don't know. Other than just all the funny Eddie Murphy stuff, right? I think
it is. It's such a good movie for like we said. It's kind of a safe movie in that it's not going to go to any of the extremes. It's still an R-rated movie, but it's relatively safe and middle of the road, and he doesn't nothing is. No, I don't feel like a lot of risks are taken. But yeah, a funny movie, and funny if you like Eddie Murphy. This is definitely one you should watch.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, it is time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. 3 questions. First question. If you're going to run for office, what position would you want to hold in the government?
No.
That's kind of my answer too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, what the heck? That'll definitely date the podcast. No, you know what? I don't want to be a complete jerkwad with this question. I remember hearing that when I was back at Eau Claire, we were studying. Our professor said that we had a guest artist or a guest speaker or something like that, and this person worked. It was a different country. I think it was one of the Scandinavian countries, but their entire job was working for like the central, state library or, like that. And their entire job was to curate the jazz recordings. And their entire job was to like research the jazz recordings and keep the collection in the library. Boy, I just sound like an idiot as I'm talking, and I'm totally not describing this right. Yeah. But their job was to make sure that the collection was up to date and to write information about it and research and to find other rare jazz recordings. And when new recordings or concerts would come out, to write reviews and make sure that the collection in the library, basically, am I saying that right? Like, because I know your wife is a librarian, like basically just curate the jazz collection, but they did it for the government. It was for like the government's thing. Like I would like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be, I think that would be, it would be work. It would be incredible. I don't know if that's elected office. I don't know. Well, what's the question? Elected office or?
Well, my answer is kind of, I'm going to veer off from that too, because, whatever position I would want to hold, it wouldn't necessarily be an elected one.
Right.
I said, if you were going to run for office, what position would you want to hold in the government?
If you were going to run, yeah, okay.
But you could pick one. You could pick one you don't have to run for.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that always appealed to me.
We know how I feel about running, so.
There it is. There it is. No, but that definitely appealed to me. Yeah. I'm just like, oh wow, that'd be cool. So yeah, you could curate the movie collection for the Library of Congress.
Yeah. I would do so. The couple of things I thought about were, I always thought it would be fun to be a speechwriter.
Yeah.
Which is not an office you run for, so that's why I'm kind of cheating on my own question. Always thought it'd be kind of fun to be a speechwriter. I always enjoyed Rob Lowe and the other characters on The West Wing as the speechwriters, and so that would be one. The other one, since I started college life as a journalism major, maybe like press secretary or something like that.
Okay.
If I was gonna go with a position like that, but yeah, I'm not. Elected office would not be for me.
Yeah, it's tricky times for that.
Yeah.
And I think. Well, we're getting off the beaten path from the movie, so I don't want to expand too much on the 3 questions. But yeah, I think any one of those would be fun.
Sure. Question number 2: who is your favorite president that served before you were born?
Abraham Lincoln and FDR. There's 2.
Okay. I'm gonna go with, because I was thinking down the list of Abraham Lincoln. Got a couple others I could list on there. The one I'm gonna go with, and he served as president. Wait, no, I might be messing that up. because he was the president. Oh, shoot. He was still the president when I was born. That doesn't work.
Are you gonna say Jed Bartlett?
No, that'd be a good one. Yeah, that'd be a good one. No, actually, I was going to say Jimmy Carter.
Okay.
Although he was the president when I was born in December of 1980. So, I mean, he was, and that's not anything personally against him. He was a lame duck at the time. But, so I guess that is still when I was born. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of his presidency, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to pick anything out and say that's why I would choose him. I'm actually choosing him for everything he did after being president.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the stuff he's done, like all of the, like he did the hurricane relief stuff. I think hasn't he been working with like Habitat for Humanity? And I mean,
oh yeah, the whole Carter Foundation.
Right. I mean, the guy is like is he in his 90s?
Yeah.
He's in his 90s and he's like still building houses.
Yeah.
Like he reminds me, he actually reminds me a lot of my grandfather, who was older and, had different health issues. But if you ever told him to sit down and stop helping people, stop building something to help somebody, he wouldn't do it. Like he's nope. I got to keep working on this. I got to do this. These people need this. It very much reminds me of that. And so I just seeing what he does, at the age that he's at now, and just seeing just the different things that he's done. I actually saw a quote somewhere about Jimmy Carter at one point in time that said he is a better man than he was a president.
Yeah, I've read that quote as well.
Yeah,
I've seen that as well.
And frankly, I'm like, that's fine.
Right.
Like you're a president for what, 4 years, maybe 8 years. You're a human being for your entire life. So yeah, no, he seems like he's a genuinely good person trying to do good in the world, trying to, for what benefits he's had, trying to give back for that. And whether you agree with him politically or not, and things that he supported and whatnot, I just, things that I see him doing, it's like, that's pretty impressive.
Right.
So I got to give some props to President Carter.
There you go.
So. All right, question number 3. Which do you enjoy more, family-friendly Eddie Murphy or 80s Eddie Murphy?
Oh, boy. Question rejection time. They both have their place. It's Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, here, hold on.
Pat just rejected your question.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's Eddie Murphy. The guy is fantastic. I just, it's all good. And there's times that the over the top stuff, it's like, okay, all right, let's, we just need to take a step back from that. And then there's times when it's just like, okay, I need a little bit more edge, So yeah, Eddie Murphy is Eddie Murphy, man. He's great.
Yeah. I'm going to go 80s Eddie Murphy. I love some of his family friendly stuff. The Donkey and the Shrek movies is awesome. And I do love some of those movies. But when I really think of the Eddie Murphy I enjoy most, it's the Saturday Night Live Eddie Murphy from the 80s. It's Raw, Delirious, it's Beverly Hills Cop. It's all that stuff. 48 Hours. Those are the absolute favorites. Coming to America. So for me, I think it's still got to be. It's still got to be. Anytime I think of Eddie Murphy, I'm immediately thinking back to all of his Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood skits at Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Who is it?
Yeah, this is how we answer the door in my neighborhood. Who is it? Or the James Brown hot tub skit.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Hey, in the hot tub, hit me now. So yeah, I got to go 80s Eddie Murphy. As much as I do enjoy his family friendly stuff, I spent way too much time watching his stand up, Delirious and Raw, and it's not something any child should watch, but it's good stuff.
Right.
It's funny stuff.
He is such a talented man.
Yeah. All right, Patrick, is there anything else you want to say about Distinguished Gentleman or Eddie Murphy?
No, John, I think that squares it.
I think we have distinguished ourselves with this episode. So
there it is.
We've said everything that we need to say, and we'll yield the rest of our time to wrapping this episode up. So if you want to find us at 30podcast.com, our website, we are at 30podcast on Twitter. You can find us there. All the other different social medias, we're usually at 30podcast on those as well. Our next episode's coming up this month of June. We've got our Patreon is The Godfather from 1972. Next week, we've got Encino Man. Then we've got a special episode with one of our Patreon supporters, co-executive producers, Podrick from Ireland. He's going to be joining us for It's a Mad, 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 Mad World from 1963. Then we've got Memoirs of an Invisible Man, Lawnmower Man, and Candyman. And then for the month of July, our Patreon is the Razzies of 1992. We'll be talking about Shining Through, The Bodyguard, Christopher Columbus, The Discovery, Final Analysis, and Newsies. And then our regular episodes for the month of July are Batman Returns, Reservoir Dogs, The Mighty Ducks, and Beef Oven. So that's what we got coming up over the next couple of months or so. Patrick?
John?
I enjoy watching movies and talking movies with you.
I enjoy it as well. It's a fun time.
So thank you for being a distinguished gentleman here on this episode with me and talking through this fun Eddie Murphy movie. Again, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's worth seeing. It may not be in any of the top 10 lists of Eddie Murphy movies, but it's a fun time.
Yes, it is.
So we will see all of you back here next time for Encino Man. In the meantime, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. We'll see you back here next time.